"You are away and walking farther away from home, son," said the old raggedy-looking man. His voice was soft yet sharp, like the sound of dry leaves crushed underfoot. His eyes, sunken with age, studied the boy with a strange depth, as though he could see through the skin into the marrow of his soul. He paused for a moment, the silence heavy, the air still. Then he leaned forward, his cracked lips parting slowly, and with a tone that carried both caution and care, he said, "There is much you can find out here, but as for the specific thing you are looking for..." He inhaled deeply, his chest rising and falling with effort, and exhaled with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of years. "I am not sure you will find it here." The boy's eyes, wide, clear, and innocent, the color of polished hazel, did not flinch. They burned into the old man's, searching for answers in the lines and creases of his face, as if each wrinkle held a map to the truth. His name was Dan. That day was complicated for him, perhaps the most confusing in his tender years. That morning, he had seen something he never wanted to see: his mother in tears. Her face was swollen, her sobs uncontrolled. His father, though often quarrelsome, had gone beyond words this time. The house had echoed with anger, and Dan had watched in silence as brutality replaced reason. It broke something inside him. He had always wondered why people suffered, why life seemed to be a stage where sorrow played the loudest music. His fragile mind, restless with questions, had long imagined a world different from this one. A world where no one cried, where conflict did not exist, where joy was permanent and peace was natural. But reality kept returning with violence, hunger, arguments, and tears. On this very day, Dan made a decision. If perfection did not live in his home, then perhaps it lived somewhere else, somewhere far, somewhere hidden. He would find it. He believed he could, and maybe, if he found it, he could carry it back to his mother and father, and their world would finally know peace. So he packed a small rucksack, just enough for a child's journey, and slipped out quietly, his feet pressed against the familiar dirt path that led out of his little town. He had walked this road many times before, but this time it felt different. Each step carried not just his body, but his desperate hope for a better world. The sun leaned westward, casting long shadows across the narrow path. Then, ahead of him, he saw the figure of an old man. Dan hesitated, then lifted his tiny palm in a fearful wave. The old man's response was not a wave, but a voice, direct, unexpected, almost startling. "Son, what are you doing trekking this path all by yourself?" Dan's voice came out in a squeak, fragile but determined. "Sir, I am searching for perfection so that Mummy won't cry anymore, so that people won't suffer anymore. I believe that if I search hard enough, I will find it." The old man narrowed his eyes, studying the boy. His silence was a test. Then, in a tone that carried both sadness and wisdom, he asked, "Where are you from?" "Downtown Valley," Dan replied without hesitation. The man drew in a slow breath, then exhaled, shaking his head gently. And in that moment, he spoke the very words that opened this encounter, warning Dan that what he sought might not exist where he was looking. Dan tilted his head, confusion filling his innocent eyes. He wanted to ask more, but before he could, the old man bent down, reached into a pouch at his side, and pulled out something small and gleaming. He held it out on his open palm. It was a stone, a jade stone, shiny, polished, and beautiful. It sparkled under the dying sun, almost alive. The old man placed it carefully into Dan's hand and said, "Son, no matter how pretty this is, it still lacks the one thing you seek, perfection. Yet people go on to treasure it, to hold it close, to admire it, even though it has flaws. Life is the same. It can never be perfect, but it is still worthy of being cherished." His voice cracked as he spoke, like an ancient tree bending in the wind. He straightened slowly, his bony finger pointing upward toward the vast sky. "Think about it, son. Think about it." Dan stood frozen, the stone warm in his small palm. His mind raced. He thought of his mother's tears, his father's anger, the pain he had witnessed. He thought of his dream for perfection, and suddenly he understood it's not everything broken could be fixed, but everything broken could still be loved. But maybe in a different way. The old man turned, his figure slowly fading into the horizon. His steps were unhurried, his shadow long. Dan watched until he could no longer see him. And though he had not found perfection, he had found something far greater. Truth, that life's beauty did not lie in its flawlessness, but in its ability to be cherished despite the flaws. Dan held the jade stone close to his chest, whispering to himself, "It may never be perfect, but it can still be good." And with that, he turned back toward home, no longer searching for perfection, but ready to bring a new kind of light to the world he'd left behind. If this story inspired you, help us share it with more people by liking and sharing the video. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you can stay connected with us.